the Q code. Your curiosity quest starts here.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Q Code Podcast with your episode.
Welcome into
another
your
episode. Your episode with your hosts, Danny, Travis, and Alan. It is December, which means that we are getting dangerously close to Christmas, and so hopefully you have started your Christmas shopping.
And most of the time, especially here in the United States, or wherever you live, if it's not in a certain area of the world, which you'll see why I said that here later, is that you probably wonder why Travis said dangerously close to Christmas, because you would think Christmas isn't dangerous.
Oh, it's dangerous.
Cheerful, but it could be dangerous.
Yeah. We were just actually discussing, because we, before we get into our main question, or not question, but topic, we do have a quick question of about Christmas presents. And, so we were talking about this prior to hitting the record button, and I'm kind of actually losing my train of thought on where I was going with this.
Maybe while you're regaining your train of thought, I will introduce what we will be talking about as our main topic today, and we will be covering the Legend of Krampus. So that, maybe at this point, many of you know who Krampus is, or at least have an idea of what Krampus is. But if you don't, you can learn something today. If you do, maybe you'll learn something additional today. Perhaps you know more than we do.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Okay, good. I was running out of things to say.
So no, we were just talking about how, because I said dangerously close, because everybody wants to make sure that they're getting all their gifts and things like that. And we were just talking about how in my family, we kind of stopped, at least in one side of my family, we just kind of stopped giving gifts to each other. And it's not because we don't like each other. In fact, our idea is just that, you know what? A lot of times we give gifts. Yeah, it's great that you
I get enough gifts on
hat,
social media all the time.
Gifts.
Yeah.
Oh, not gift.
Got it. Good. It's in the game.
Thing is, though, is when you get to this day and this time in your life, if you're about our age, older, whatever, you're an adult. If you want something, you typically, you're working. Unless it's super crazy. If I want a new pair of shoes, I'm going to go buy a new pair of shoes. If I want a hat, I'm going to get a hat.
You don't usually just be like, well, I'm going to wait for this one time of year. Well, I guess usually when you're a kid, it's 2 times. It's you have your birthday and Christmas are the 2 main times
even then,
you can ask for gifts.
And even then, by that point, I get to my, I always get from my dad for Christmas, he's like, give me a Christmas list. I'm like, I don't even know. Amazon gift card. That's one thing. What else? And then, for my birthday, kind of the same thing. I'm like, look, I've already gotten whatever I need. And a lot of times my mom will just give me money for my birthday. And I, for example, today, or last year for Christmas, my dad gave me one item because I asked for it. And then he didn't know what else to give me. So he just gave me the cash, left in whatever budget he had per child. And I just barely spent that today. So it's been almost a year, and I spent it today. So
well done.
It's because I don't know. I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
Did you purchase? I don't know. Just randomly throw it at a Nike sweatshirt. Or anything?
I purchased 2 Nike hoodies.
Yeah, well done.
So anyway, in my family, we have decided to just kind of really more focus on the experience of being around each other and doing fun things as opposed to getting items,
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think it's much more, especially once you have your kids, it becomes more of this holiday is for the kids. For me, I don't need anything for Christmas. If my kids were happy on Christmas, then that's all I need.
It's funny because if you think about it, when your kids are growing up, teenagers, whatever, you're like, oh, I want all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, I want tons of stuff, but I never thought I'd get to the point where I'm just I'm okay not getting anything for Christmas, or I'm not or not getting anything for my birthday. I'd rather focus, and if I'm going to be spending money, I'd rather, spend it on giving, spending time with my kids, my wife, my other family members. But even obviously, like, I want my kids to wake up and have something to open, presents wise. So, but I really enjoy that aspect of it.
But it's more the, like, you don't need the materialistic things anymore. And
it's more just watching how happy they are.
You're happy with, like, the experiences. And one thing that we get for our kids every single year and have for the last few years, for the most part, is we just get them Lagoon season passes.
We do the same thing.
Because they go on sale on Black Friday, so you can get them for the best deal that they do sell them for on the year. And then but really that's like a gift that gives, like, all summer long. But as much as, like, sometimes it's frustrating to stand in lines and stuff at Lagoon in the moment, but when you look back, you're like, you know what, but I got to spend, like, all these extra hours with my kids, you know?
And Alan, when Garen opens up his dog bone,
I thought you were going to say when he opens up his Lagoon pass.
And he's so happy, you can just sit there and be like, yes, I got that for you.
You can sing him that song you like to sing him, something about he's the best so far, he's a star or something.
Literally just sang that to you. He just sang of this song, and now you're trying to bait him into singing it again.
I thought maybe people would like to hear Alan sing.
You want me to sing it?
This is the song that Alan sings to his dog.
Yeah, I sing this to my dog all the time, and I made it up. It goes, "You're a good boy, yes, yes, you are. You're a good boy, the best by far. You're a good boy, yes, yes, you are. You're a good boy, you are my star."
And I look at Garen as he's laying
Alan.
down there, and no emotion.
It was very well done, very well written. I think maybe one thing you'll have to just check into is speech impediment classes. But other than that, 5 stars.
So as we're talking about, the Christmas, like giving the presents and things like that, our quick question of the day is, what are the best and worst Christmas presents you've ever received? So this was, like, tough for me because I don't know, like, as far as, like, worst, like, I got something that was like, oh no, like, I don't want this,
Yeah.
I can't remember of any of those. I mean, I'm sure I've gotten something that I was like, I could.
And I
didn't
agree
want
with
this
that, 'cause,
one.
Yeah, it's not like someone's ever given me, like, a severed head or something like
this
that.
isn't
That's
the one
just,
that I
like,
wanted,
terrible.
but I'm not gonna throw a fit about it because
What is this? 7?
Yeah. Like,
What's in the box?
That
What's
would
in the
be a
box?
terrible gift. Like, I would probably try to return it
to the person.
wherever I can return it to.
head.
I'm like, Costco, do you guys sell severed heads in bulk? But anyway, Alan.
What is that Austin Powers where he just goes off after the shark bites the guy's head off? He's like, that's no way to get ahead in life.
A lot of head puns.
What's the worst gift you've ever got, Al?
So this might sound petty, and it's not really, like, that bad, but when I was a kid, everyone else had the PlayStation. I wanted a PlayStation, and instead I got a Nintendo GameCube.
Oh no.
Man,
Which
ridiculous.
Nintendo GameCube didn't have any of the games that I wanted for PlayStation, so it was, like, completely.
You must have been pretty old when this happened, because was I moved out already?
No, PlayStation. Danny, PlayStation came out like 98.
No, GameCube. I thought GameCube just came out like a few years ago.
No,
that's
GameCube came out
Nintendo-
before PlayStation.
Nintendo, what's the
Nintendo Switch.
Switch?
Wii.
So wait,
Wii
what
U.
was Nintendo GameCube after Nintendo 64?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what came out right after Nintendo 64.
Where it had, like, the mini discs instead of full-size CDs.
I don't know. I don't think I ever played a Nintendo GameCube.
And it was like a cube.
It was it was literally a cube.
It would have been a bad name if it was a sphere or a cone. Maybe a cylinder.
But when you want a
GameCube
PlayStation,
in cone
when you
form.
want a PlayStation, because all your friends have
Nintendo Game
PlayStations,
Cone.
and you want to play those same games, it sucks to get a GameCube.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I got a PlayStation, so I don't know how it feels not to have
So
one.
this was like between the PS1 and the because we had a PlayStation.
But I will
That was
tell
like
you
after.
I will tell you, Alan, when we got the PlayStation, so my dad and his wife got it for us, and it was a family gift, and we all like unwrapped it, and as soon as we opened it, we all were like, yes! And we all started screaming. Like, I was doing the same thing. I had no clue what it was. I think it was just because all of us started screaming, like, oh my gosh. I don't think any of us knew what a PlayStation was. Until like my dad was like, yeah, you play Crash Bandicoot. I'm like, what the fuzz? Crash Bandicoot. I love Crash Bandicoot.
You collect peaches.
But I'm like, I have no clue what
Millions of
this is. But anyway, what about
PlayStation was a good console, but it's throwing me off because I don't remember ever seeing a GameCube in our house.
But because it was mine, it was in my room.
Oh, because I know we had, what was the Sega version? It wasn't Sega Genesis, but it was like
Sega Dreamcast, Sega CD?
Sega CD, I think it was, that we got, and we had that one.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, we had like that cop game on it.
What cop game?
I don't know. I just remember playing a cop game. Anyway, that's not my worst present. Do you want to go or do you want me to go, Trev?
You can go.
Okay, so my worst present ever was, again, this is like Trav said, I'm not complaining because you can't complain about getting something free, right? When someone gives something to you. But this is more of just like, it's a disappointment because I thought I was getting something else. So when I was 15 years old, I told my dad, there's only one thing I want. Like, if you give me nothing else, it's cool. I just want this one thing. And I told him, I just want a pair of K2 rollerblades with grind plates. Because I was pretty sure that I had a knack for rollerblading.
You thought you could grind down rails or something?
Yeah, and that I was going to probably be like the next X Games star for rollerblading.
Okay.
So I'm like, Dad's like, I showed him, like I took him to the store because there was a special rollerblade shop back then. This shows how old I am.
For those of you who may not know what rollerblades are, look it up.
Yeah.
You can find them at your local thrift shop.
It's like inline roller skates. But
they're like roller skates, but cooler.
Yeah, they're
rollers.
blades.
If you had roller skates, you were a loser.
They've also been called banana boots.
Have they?
I think so.
What? I don't remember this. But anyway, yeah, on 7th East in Salt Lake City, there was a rollerblade shop. I think it's about 1700 South. Took them there. I'm like, these are the exact ones I want. Okay, da-da-da. So I wake up Christmas morning thinking that I can't wait to get my rollerblades. And then I look and I see like one box. I'm like, it could be my rollerblades, maybe, like about the right size. So I'm going through, I put that box aside because...
Yep, you have to save the best
you got to save the best for last. So like anyone who doesn't know me, like when I eat Lucky Charms, I eat all the brown pieces first, save the marshmallows, and then I eat the marshmallows in color order from my least favorite color to my favorite color.
Because by the time I get through all of that, the marshmallows will then have been disintegrated by the milk.
Well, you got to work quickly.
You've got to be like eating your cereal one thing at a time. Just like this is one little.
And, Liz always asks me why it takes me so long.
He's just over in the corner, just. It's like super fast. He just looked like a little hermit, like he's never, like it's been so long since he's eaten food that he's just got to shove it in.
But it's easier when you learn to eat with chopsticks first. So.
Good,
because then you can just pick out the individual pieces. Really,
anytime he eats a bowl of Lucky Charms, his mood always goes from like just pissed off to just gradually more and more happy. He's like, yes, I'm nearing my favorite color of marshmallow.
Because I always save the blue moons for last. But
they don't even taste different.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
but they look different.
They look blue, Alan,
and they're like crescent shaped. But anyway, yeah. So I put that box aside, and then next thing I know, I get through all my other presents, and here is the pièce de résistance. Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
No. But however you say it. I'm like super excited to get my K2 rollerblades with grind plates, and I open the box, and I'm like, this is not a rollerblade box. And then I proceed to open that box, and inside that box is a pair of very short range walkie-talkies. And when I say short range, I mean like you pretty much had to be in the same room as each other to use them. And
How could they be? Did your dad like wrap them in a giant box just so that just to fool you?
And needless to say, my heart sunk pretty far at that moment. I was just like, these are not rollerblades with grind plates. And I couldn't even enjoy using my walkie-talkies because I was so frustrated that I didn't get my K2 rollerblades.
How old were you?
15. And so I never did receive my K2 rollerblades.
I think I remember this. I think I remember those walkie-talkies.
Yeah. They like literally only lasted like 4 minutes too on the batteries. So like I think we used them like a couple times and I was like, I literally we're talking to each other on the walkie-talkies, but we're sitting next to each other because that's the range. And it was pointless. So, but yeah, that was probably my most disappointed I've ever been on Christmas. Other than the one Christmas that I didn't get a Christmas. But my wife said I can't talk about that anymore.
Okay. So mine, if we're talking about worst gifts, again, like, I mean, the item that I've selected is just, it was something that I really wanted, actually. So like I asked for it, I got it. But then the reality of what it was did not live up to the hype.
Oh. Was this like a creepy crawler set?
No, I liked my creepy crawler set.
Me too. I got one of those. That was a good Christmas.
That was a good Christmas.
Was that where
No.
you like had the gel stuff that you would bake or something?
Yeah, it was like the girls had the easy bake oven. We had creepy crawlers.
And then you'd make like little scorpions or bugs. Or
Oh, were they
whatever.
gummies that you could eat?
No,
No.
you couldn't eat the gummies.
Oh.
There was
They
another
were
one of
poisonous
those.
if you ate them. You would have died.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's toxic.
That explains why I was sick so much as a kid.
He's like,
These
"Mm."
gummies suck.
He's just taking the liquid stuff and just squirting it in his mouth. He's like, "Ah." No, so mine was freaking Nickelodeon moon shoes.
What?
Do you guys
I'm trying to remember
well,
those
'kay.
Nickelodeon moon shoes.
So moon shoes.
like I remember moon
Commercials
boots.
are so freaking deceiving.
Were
Okay.
they made to moonwalk in?
No, moon shoes. They were
they're
like
kind of high tops.
they were basically these
Yeah.
individual trampolines that you would attach to your feet.
Oh.
So one per foot, and it was almost like this, it was like a platform shoe, but it was like this oval shape, and then throughout like the top of it, you had like all of these, these right here. Sorry, Danny's pulling them up. Look at that kid. So if you don't know what these are, look them up. So Nickelodeon moon shoes. And
What?
and they had these like giant black rubber bands that went across the surface of it because they were hollowed out. And then you would like stand on those.
So it's
and
kind of
you'd-
like a pogo sticks.
kind of
for your feet?
You'd like you'd attach your feet to them, you'd strap them in, and then you'd bounce. And like when you watch the commercials, they're like bouncing so high, and they're like, "Yeah, this is so great." You get in them, you can't move a damn inch. I'm not going anywhere. I'm jumping, but they're so
They're-
heavy.
they're weighing you
They're
down.
weighing you down. I'm like so stupid. But so I mean, that was like, I'm sure I've gotten other ones.
These shoes that with the like springs look more exciting.
Yeah.
They're called indoor outdoor bouncy jumping shoes.
But I mean, I think that was just one where, because I mean, I feel like I've been lucky in my life. I mean, I know my parents, they love the Christmas season, and they've always tried to, now we've not always been, financially sound or anything like that, but they've always tried to make sure that me and my siblings have had a good Christmas, and, it always comes out for the best. So, nothing much to complain about, but it does suck when you get something that you want and you're just expecting it to be something fantastic, and then it turns out to be just a dud of just crap, pure and total garbage.
that is true. I wonder what percentage.
Thanks, Nickelodeon.
What
I
percentage
want
of toys
my parents' money back.
are just like not even close to what they advertise? Because
So-
there's a lot of those situations that occur. But why don't we flip it and go in reverse order, Trav? What was the best?
So best Christmas
present
present. So I'm
you've
kind of
ever
going with nostalgia here. I've got a lot of good presents over my years, but when I was a kid, I just remember coming down into the living room Christmas morning, and there was, because I wanted a new bike. I had this little tiny bike. It was white. I'm pretty sure it was a girl's bike. It had a bunch of rainbows on it. But I was like, I'm done with rainbows. I want a big boy bike. And now the thing that I really wanted was, because at the time they had those bikes that looked like motorcycles, like they had like a plastic form over them, so it made it look like motorcycles. I wanted that so bad, but those were pretty expensive, and I understood that when my parents told me like, it's probably not going to happen. But I came down and I saw this brand new bike, and it was gold. It was shiny. It was so great, and I was like, this is so awesome. It's black and gold. It was amazing.
Wait, was it a motorcycle bike?
No, it was just a regular bike, but it was beautiful.
Looking.
So that was one of my favorites. And then just on the side of that, another Christmas where like I just remember opening over and over again like all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures, all of the Ghostbuster action figures, and I really wish I still had those.
Yeah. This brings up maybe another potential episode we could have someday on just like favorite toys growing up as a kid or something like that. Because there's a lot of fun, cool toys and a lot of disappointing toys out there. But for the best Christmas present I ever got, this comes back to what Trav and Alan and I were talking about earlier, where experience is kind of where things end up being kind of the go-to, what you want when you're older. And so this is actually something I did get when I was older, when I was in my 20s, late 20s probably. But yeah, my wife actually got me, and to most of you, it probably doesn't sound that good, or maybe I just haven't had the greatest luck with Christmas presents, and this is the one that shines out above all of them. And she got me a plane ticket to Reno, Nevada.
Cool.
Were you like a obsessed fan of Reno 911 or something?
Nope. I just I liked Reno because I went there once on a bowling trip, and
he lives an exciting life.
But I liked Reno because at the time I really liked gambling.
The time?
Well, my love for gambling has definitely subsided significantly since this point in my life.
And it all started with 3-card money back in the day in Vegas.
But no, I mean, I was just excited because I'd never been gifted a trip before, I think. And she's like, here, and I got your friend George. He's going to go with you. And I was all excited about that. You remember George? He was at my wedding.
Sure.
Well, you were both some of my groomsmen.
Well, I don't remember everybody. You also were married a while ago.
It was a while ago. But anyway, so she gave me that. We went to Reno. I had free room options available because I had been there before and I got gold status. So
how many times did you go to get gold status?
I think it's one long trip, but I gambled enough to get gold status. And so it was back when like
they
Nevada
just give him a free trip because they know they'll spend most of his money in the casino.
Like Nevada was struggling back right after the recession, for a few years after the recession. So they offered all kinds of like freebies to get people to come out there. And if you got to gold status, they were like, we'll give you a week in the suite if you come out there. So I was like, all right, get my free suite. And I remember it had like this nice deep tub in it. And I'm not really a bath taker, but I was like, I'm going to pamper myself on this trip. And I took a bath.
Love bathing in my own filth.
Yeah, well, I think I showered first because I'm like you. I don't like it when the water turns an awkward color. So I was like, shower
gray.
and then have my bath. But then, yeah,
Real
so
quick.
I gambled.
I don't know if this story is true,
Ask the blind man, he saw it too.
I knew you were going to say that. But I heard that one time there was like a physicist conference held in Vegas and for a weekend. And so like all these physicists from around the world flew in for this conference. And then in the news, they reported that it was the lowest casino like take in the history of Vegas.
Because they were all very smart and knew
so all
game
these
theory.
physicists were using probability and doing all the math and stuff. So
I thought you were going to say
that
because
much
none
money.
of them were in the casino. They were all just like doing math problems in their rooms.
Okay.
So dumb.
Anyway,
So
I
then
just wanted
after
to
that,
say,
Vegas was like, no more physicist conferences here.
but yeah, I just wanted to say that I gambled a lot that week. I went there with $1,000. I came home with $1,080.
Nice.
So if you push that out to like a per hour wage, is about 50 cents an hour. I think I made. But I came back with more than I left with, and I did see the sun one time during that week, and that was when I went across the street for dinner at Outback Steakhouse. Otherwise, casinos are like mini cities. You don't have to leave. They have food and bathrooms.
I would at least gone golfing. But, I mean, that's me.
I didn't have a car.
Uber.
It was before Uber.
Taxi.
It was after taxis.
Shut up. All right, Al, do you have one or should we move on?
The best gift, probably when I got my MacBook Air. This is like 6 years ago, something like that. I had
And
a
that was the
MacBook
one that
Air.
we actually started our podcast on, right?
Yep.
We're thankful for it
So-
too.
When I got my MacBook Air, that's when I really started getting into like computers a lot and like all the editing that I learned that we could now do this podcast and video and photography and all that stuff. So
Sweet.
it opened a lot of doors for me.
Awesome.
Do
All
they
right.
have like a MacBook Land or C?
Okay.
Just Air.
Don't,
Are these not grade A
don't
jokes?
grade a top choice jokes. All right, let's move on to this week's main topic.
Krampus, pin him together but bring him to us. Krampus, doing his dirty work, Saint Nicholas. Krampus, pin him together but bring him to us. Krampus, doing his dirty work, Saint Nicholas. Don't forget, children. Be good.
Is that DMX's Christmas carols?
There wasn't a lot to choose from when it came to Krampus sounders, I decided. So that was the best of the lot.
All righty.
So we like decided that we were going to do a little episode on Krampus, partially because I mean, I didn't really know much about Krampus.
I didn't really know much about Krampus either. I think we
then-
just kind of were when we were talking about some stuff that we can talk about during the December month,
The holiday season.
This is kind of little. I mean, it's not like we're the only podcast ever to talk about Krampus. I mean, it's a very popular figure in folklore and I don't know. So, I mean, it's
we'll
pop
give you
culture.
We'll give you some brief background and history on Krampus for any of you who don't know or haven't listened to other things on Krampus. But we're going to kind of just come at it from our own opinions as far as what this character is and what it means to society and stuff like that. So, but the thing is that Trav has a go-to move when it comes to new topics, and I usually have a different go-to move, but I'm starting to enjoy Trav's go-to move, and that is anytime we're like, hey, we have this topic, he's always like, is there a movie we can watch that is about that topic? Because
Anything
I've
that-
always been one that's like, is there a book I can read?
See,
about
anything that
topic?
makes me not have to read. And it's not because I don't like reading. I'm a slow reader, and it takes me a long time to read. and not just read but grasp what I'm reading.
Sadly, though, I'm actually a very slow reader when it comes to reading and comprehending as well. So I probably should watch more videos. But anyway, yes,
So
we watched.
when you say reading, though, do you mean reading, or listening to a book on tape, audiobook?
I mean reading.
Oh.
If I listen to a book on audio tape, I call it listening. But no,
I know a bunch of people who they're like, yeah,
I've read
I
this
read that
book,
book, and they didn't read it. They listened to it on tape.
I'm not going to say I've never said that, because maybe I'm sure I've said it that way before, but for the most part, I try to be, if I am conscientiously saying it, I'll say, yeah, I listened to that book. But to me, I mean, it's fine. I don't like it, whether you listen to a book or read the book, as long as you grasp what the book has to say, like, it's fine either way. For me, though, like, if I'm reading something, if I'm just sitting there and reading it, then that's fine, because it feels like I'm doing something. I have a hard time just sitting there staring at a wall and listening to something. So like if I'm listening to a book or podcast or whatever, it's usually because like I'm actively like working on house chores or going and doing errands or driving or something, you know. So I'm actually doing something else while I'm listening to it. But we watched the 2015 film Krampus, starring Adam Scott. Trav let me know that this was the apparent authority in Hollywood on Krampus.
Yep. There's a lot of just like off, like kind of like those B movies that, you know, as soon as that one's coming out, then all of a sudden Redbox has like 3 different ones that are about the same thing. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that just wanted to make sure that we got the right Krampus when we were watching it. So
I don't think the way that I worded it is correct, though. How would you say, like, the aforementioned authority?
the before mentioned.
No, like, what would you consider, like, this is the go-to source for Krampus knowledge?
Go-to source. That sounds good. I don't know exactly what word you're looking for, but
I guess you could say the authority on Krampus knowledge.
Okay, so maybe I had it right. I don't know. But that is beside the point. I am talking in circles now because I don't know why.
All right, so, you know, I had him watch this movie. Unfortunately, even though I'm the one that came up with the idea to watch the movie, I did not get to watch the full thing because this week has been pretty busy. I've just been getting things ready, had to clean my house, had some actual like people coming in and deep cleaning, like all the stuff like that I don't want to do, which is like cleaning all the floorboards and all the blinds and stuff like that. So we're just getting stuff ready. And so I watched half the movie and I paused it and I was like, you know what? Because I rented it from Amazon Prime. And I thought you always got like 48 hours to watch movies. But apparently you get 3 days once you rent it to actually watch it. But once you press play, you have 24 hours to watch it. And so by the time I was able to get back and watch it, it was like 24 hours later. I was like, all right, I got time. And then it was gone. And I was not going to spend another $4 to watch another 45 minutes of a movie. So Danny watched the whole thing.
So out of the three of us, yeah, we have 3 different layers of watching this movie. One watched the whole thing, one watched half, one watched none. So it's kind of like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. So like I'm the dad bear, you're the mom bear, Alan's the baby bear.
Why do we have to go like do that analogy? Like
I don't know.
An analogy where you and I are basically married.
And I'm your offspring.
Little Alan Chan.
So yeah, anyway, basically at this point, if you have not seen this movie and it's something that is on your bucket list of things to do in your life, you may want to stop because we will be giving spoilers from here on out as far as the movie's concerned. So first, we watched the movie. These are some of the things I noticed. Trav, again, you said you only watched half of it, but these are just critiques I have on the movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I'm carrying and critiquing a movie like this so much. There's just bound to be plot holes.
Oh, yeah.
In a movie on a fictional character named Krampus. Or is he fictional? I don't know. We'll see. But basically, the daughter of this family goes to find her boyfriend because she's very concerned about him because he's not answering her text messages.
There's a big storm that rolls through town.
Yeah. And she's like, I have texted him 9 times and he hasn't responded to me once. This is unlike him. I want to go to his house and check on him. And the mom at first is like, no, which I can see because it's like very dangerous in the snowstorm. But the dad's like, she'll be fine. It's cool. Whatevs. Go. So the mom's like, okay, fine. So she goes, right? And she goes missing because Krampus gets her. Well, the thing on top of all of this that just kind of irked me was they cared because, like, the dad even went to go look for her, but it didn't really seem like they cared that much.
There were other things that came up.
Like, they went and they came back and they're like, did you find her? Like, no, we didn't find her. But it just didn't seem like in real life. I feel like parents would be like distraught.
Oh yeah, I'd be freaking out.
But they were just like kind of like, yeah, it sucks. We couldn't find her. But let's deal with whatever we want to deal with right now.
Let's move on.
Yeah, it just was so quick to just be like, okay, well, that's a lost cause. Like, we're going to move on we're all going to just go to sleep now.
Yeah.
And so I just found that kind of, as a parent, like that's not at all how
Well,
it
and the
would
thing,
go.
so before we get into much more of this movie, let's talk a little bit about like who Krampus is in folklore. So just so you kind of understand where this is all coming from. So, I mean, we're all very familiar with Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, whatever. This is the man that comes on Christmas Eve, to Christmas Day, whatever time it is, and comes down your chimney, leaves presents for all the good girls and boys. If you are naughty, though, you're on the naughty list, oh well, you get a lump of coal in your stocking. Now, in the story goes that basically Krampus and Saint Nicholas come hand in hand. Like, they're like buddies.
They're like the yin to the yang.
Yeah.
They're based. I mean, the word they always say is anti or antithesis. So Krampus is basically the anti-Santa.
Yeah.
Meaning Santa comes to reward all the good girls and boys with presents, while Krampus comes to punish all the bad girls and boys with not presents.
Yeah.
With other horrible things that we'll get into in more detail here.
Yeah. Now, just to kind of picture what Krampus is, he is essentially a mix between crap, hold on just a second. I had this.
He's half goat, half demon.
So he is a demon goat. And big demon goat walks on his hind legs, not like a regular goat, and he's got the hooves and everything. But he comes to just basically terrify the children. And as I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know what? That's the one thing we don't have in Christmas enough: terrifying our children.
It's true. It's too much happiness.
They seem to, like, joy. I tell them, oh, you're going to get a lump of coal in your stocking. Because I can guarantee you, like, my kids are not good all the time. Like, they are good 20%. And that's being generous.
Yeah. Because they're fighting the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Or not listening or pushing their boundaries I mean, but this is like normal. I'm not saying that like my kids are the same way. Everyone's kids are for the most part
So
the
if
same
we're
way.
going by, Santa Claus's standards, most kids are probably getting coal.
Yeah.
So most kids are getting visited by Krampus and they're going to get beat.
I mean, literally, Trav's last name is Cole.
Yes, and trust me, that's basically the only thing people could come up with. Look, you, Travis Cole, you planning on getting coal in your stocking? Although I do like from time to time to show. Maybe I won't say this. I've already started it. I was like, I could put stockings on, and all I got is my birthday suit and just stockings, and I'll.
Got a little coal in my
got a little
stocking.
coal in your stocking. But anyway, so that's really kind of the idea of it. It just what interests me is just that, that Krampus and Santa Claus, like the way that they describe it in the stories is like, they're just like walking down the street, you know, they're hand in hand, and Santa's like, oh, hey, little kid, you've been good. Here's a present. And then on the other side, you know, just that good kid's brother who's a bad kid. Krampus is like, we'll kill you. And Santa's just like, ho, 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 ho.
It's fine with me. He's not on my list.
I just feel like Santa, who should be loving and he's giving all these presents, should be like, hey, hold on, Krampus. We should love everybody.
But I think actually, in a way, Santa does remove himself from the equation, so he doesn't have to be quite put in that situation. So what is it called when you're like passive aggressive?
Passive aggressive?
Oh yeah. Okay, so
I feel like we have one of these moments, so far 2 moments this episode, of where Danny doesn't know exactly what he wants to say, so he says the word anyway, and it's what it is. What is like? What, I don't know how to describe it. It's like passive aggressive.
But I mean, like, the reason I say that is because we can go into this now. So the reason Krampus came up. So Krampus comes, I mean, he's been around for a long time. It's not like something that's new that's just popped up. Actually, Krampus has been something that's been around in human culture and folklore for like thousands of years. Actually started and was not come up with, but like developed by, I don't know. I don't know why I'm struggling so much today to speak words, but by the pagans.
Yeah.
Are the original ones. And did the pagans come up with Halloween too?
So I mean, they in the history and the folklore origins, or whatever you want to call it, it was like an idol that like the witches would worship, and I call the pagans. Part of him, he's like always carrying chains because he's like supposedly like a prisoner of Satan, and so anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, and he's even depicted as kind of devilish at times, because like Travis said, he's supposed to be half goat, half demon, but he's also got like these large like goat curled horns. He has dark hair or fur or whatever. He's got fangs, and then a lot of times in the movie and in a lot of the pictures and paintings that I saw, he had like a really long tongue that would come out,
which is also really creepy. It's just basically like
a snake tongue,
kiss,
like a like a slimy, slithery tongue. But yeah, so this pagan creature, whatever, over the years evolves, and apparently at some point it must have been in Norse mythology, because then Krampus became known as the son of Hel, which is a Norse, like in Norse mythology, a Norse god, Norse god. And from looking at a few things, it looks like, do you know the movie Thor Ragnarok?
Yes.
The sister, what's her name in that movie?
Oh, crap. Helena?
I think.
Yeah. Maybe, I can't remember.
But
Helena of Troy?
So, like, whatever, her, like Helena, but she's, I think, supposed to be, like, her character's created after this god, Hel. Mm-hmm. And Hel is named after the place that she resides, which is Hell, which is where apparently some people go when they're bad.
Oh, okay.
So that's where
she's
the
like
whole
the
thing
Norse
came from.
god equivalent of Hades.
Yeah. And sometimes that gets confusing because there's like the Roman, there's the Greek, there's the Norse, and they all have like similar god. They just have different names for them.
Yeah. So, going back to the movie now, one thing that I didn't necessarily, and obviously, like, it wasn't meant to be an Oscar winner. So, but I mean, Krampus is supposed to come, and punish the bad kids, right? And but here you have this boy, this main character who's the son of this family, and the family is just like, nobody has the Christmas spirit. They're all fighting. Parents are having a hard time.
Kind of like what a lot of families probably are like.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. Like, the beginning of the show, I mean, they're playing. I think it's the most wonderful time of the year. Everything's kind of like in slow motion as you're just
they're
seeing
showing
like a bunch of people
shopping.
Yeah, shopping, fighting over gifts. And, we talked about this fairly recently on another episode of like the worst Black Friday stories and like things like this that actually happen. Like people just forget like the Christmas spirit is not about the whole, like about the presents and everything like that. I mean, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. I mean, it's not about that. It's about being with your loved ones and remembering the true meaning and reason for the Christmas season, or for the holiday season if you are not a Christian. But
yeah, let's not typecast ourselves.
that is true. But so in this movie, you got all that stuff that's going on, and then you have this boy who's struggling with his beliefs in Santa. He at the very beginning, he gets in this fight with some kid because the kid basically told him that Santa Claus isn't real. And, he's kind of trying to play it off like, oh, I didn't want him to ruin, the beliefs of all the other kids. But it's really about himself. And then he writes this letter to Santa. His cousins find it, make fun of him for it. And basically the things that he's writing to Santa about are just like sincere things. Like he wants his mom and dad to fall in love again. He wants his aunt and uncle to, for whatever reason, they're having issues.
Yeah,
and he wants them to
not struggle
anymore. He wants to hang out and be with his sister again because now she's a teenager. She's got a boyfriend and she doesn't have time for him. So he
even says like nice things about the cousins that are bullying.
Yeah.
Him, like that he wants them to be happier and nice to him.
Yeah. And that's like all he wants. And then they make fun of him. He then takes and then they tell him, Santa Claus isn't real and all that stuff. And so then he goes up into his room and he kind of like, has this moment, and then he rips up the letter and then he throws it out the window, and it like the wind takes it and goes off into the sky, and then this dark cloud approaches, and that's like the coming of Krampus. And I'm like, why is it the kid's letter? Like, he's not a bad kid. Like Krampus comes because this kid's like beliefs, like his Christmas spirit is shattered because of other people. And so I'm like, why is it this kid? But I guess maybe like the whole story behind it is just that everybody else sucks so much that they need to be punished.
Yeah, and it kind of does get into that, and towards the end of this, we will get into some of the differences from what I could see, which is what is the actual folklore stories and the history behind Krampus, and what was in this movie didn't completely add up or jive. I think there's a lot of liberties taken by the creators of this movie that just kind of made their own plot lines and storylines along the way. So we can get into some of those differences. But yes, exactly. That was the same question that I had throughout the whole movie, is just, why is this the act that causes Krampus? Because like, I can't imagine that he's the only kid in this neighborhood and the history of this neighborhood that's done this. Like, to me, I would feel like Krampus would be coming every single Christmas then, because some kid's gonna be upset and probably rip up his letter to Santa or something like that. Another thing I noticed, and you would have noticed this in the part that you saw.
Maybe Krampus can only get to like one town at a time each year.
Maybe.
So this was the year that he came to this town.
But what was the purpose? And it's kind of funny that I'm asking you this, because you probably would be like, well, yeah, what is it? But what was the purpose of the snowmen in their yard?
Those are his like Santa's elves. He's got like snowmen as his watchers, I guess, like the eyes and ears of
to see if people are being good, or
I guess. I think that was like the purpose of it, but
did they explain that?
I don't know.
Or did you just infer that?
It could have been that.
Trav's like, oh, they're watching for Krampus.
They're like his minions.
The reason I'm asking it is because at the beginning of the movie, when Krampus first comes, the main character looks out the window and he sees the snowman, and that's the first thing he's like, Dad, Mom, like, what? Who built this snowman? And they're like, I don't know. But they don't. I mean, because I probably wouldn't, as a parent, just really care that much about a snowman. But throughout the movie, more and more snowmen just pop up in his yard, but they never have a part through the whole movie other than they're just there, like in the yard. So I just was curious if I missed something, because I was assuming at some point, I was assuming at some point like the snowmen would like come to life or something and wreak havoc, but they didn't. So that was one question of mine. Another was, they explain in the movie itself, and I don't know if you saw this part, that the reason that the Krampus comes is because the Christmas spirit was lost, basically. Like you said, this boy's Christmas spirit was shattered. Everyone else around him doesn't have the Christmas spirit, so that's what brings Krampus into town. Well, they also explained that because of that, the wish was like that you would get your family to disappear, basically. Like,
I made my family disappear.
So the grandma in the movie tells the tale. The reason that her main portion is because when she was a little girl, something similar happened, and Krampus came and took her family and left her alone because she was the one that wanted the family gone. So apparently that's what the boy must have been wishing, was like he didn't want his family around. He just wanted to go back to the way it was. And that's why Krampus came, to take his family. But why did Krampus also take out the DHL delivery man? and the snowplow guy? Like, they're not in his family.
He took out, I'm pretty sure he took out like everybody in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So like, it just doesn't jive with what they're telling you the story is. It's like, he comes to take your family. They do not say he comes to take everyone.
Well,
in the
they've
vicinity.
got to have some casualties. Some innocent bystanders that just get hit.
I mean, this poor delivery dude just like, it's a bad one out there today. He's like, poor guy is like having to still work. And then he ends up dead. I don't know how. He was like frozen or something in his delivery truck. But yeah, so that was one. Another issue I saw is, I don't know, I think you did see all the way to this point, but the freaking iPad. I want the iPad battery they had in this movie, because this movie was made 4 years ago. And this battery was amazing. The power was out for a couple days. They used the iPad like nonstop.
I know.
And it just kept going until finally, like 2 nights later, they needed the key moment when the iPad like turns off because it ran out of battery. But it like was 48 hours of battery life.
I'll take that.
On no charge, because the power's out, if I didn't say that.
Maybe they had one of those like battery pack charging station things.
No, I think they even refer to it though. Well, no,
at the very beginning.
Yeah, she says,
"Isn't that going to die?"
Yeah, isn't that iPad going to die? Like basically, like saying, like maybe you shouldn't just use the iPad to like watch a movie on right now, because maybe we could use it later.
Oh,
but the other mom's just like, it's going to die at some point, so might as well get some use out of it while we can.
Maybe in the credits, one of the producers is Apple.
That is a possibility.
Maybe. So yeah, those were my main concerns.
These are his concerns.
With the movie, as far as just like the plot line itself goes. But going back slightly, so it's a little different because here in the States, and I can't speak for all the other countries, I probably should know more, but this shows my lack of knowledge in Christmas festivities or holiday festivities in other countries. But here we celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December. Right? 24th of December is Christmas Eve. Well, where Krampus originates and kind of has its foothold in history is in the Central European area, which is like Austria and Germany, right? And so in that area, they actually celebrate their Christmas, or they call it like St. Nicholas Day or whatever, on December 6th. Which would make December 5th their Christmas Eve in essence. But their Christmas Eve is actually the day of Krampus. And so they have a name for it. I think it's called Krampusnacht or something like that.
It's like Krampus night.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Try smart. Anyway, so
I am a quarter German.
no wonder you know so much about this. Do you know a lot about beer?
Beer?
And boots?
Beer and boots?
And Lederhosen?
You drink the beer and the boots.
So anyway, but yeah, he comes in. So basically, the 5th is the day that the Krampus shows up, because that's the day he will punish the bad kids. And it sounds like there's different levels. Like if they're kind of bad, he'll probably just come and beat you with chains and birch sticks. But if you're like kind of bad, but if you're like really bad, after he beats you, he'll stuff you in his sack and then take you back to his lair, which is also AKA like could be hell.
He'll take you, drag you to hell.
Yeah. And then you have to spend a year there. And then it sounds like, at least at some level, like, so maybe if you're like medium bad, you get dragged to hell for a year, but then you get to go back after a year if you learn to behave yourself. But then if you're super bad, maybe you get dragged to hell.
Super bad.
And then either tortured for eternity or just eaten when he's hungry. It sounds like, so like there's different tiers from my understanding of what your fate could be.
I think I'd rather just be beaten with chains and birch sticks.
There is another one, I think, where he would just drown you.
Yeah, I don't want that either.
Yeah, and I think, so maybe that's like between, I don't know if that would be between
eternal torture.
Yeah.
Just between being dragged to hell for a year and eternal torture, you might get drowned.
Yeah. So that's like being like medium to high bad.
It sounds like the same thing that happens to Chinese citizens when they are vocal against the government.
Like in Hong Kong?
Well, not in Hong Kong so much right now, but like other people on mainland China. Like there was this famous actress that I don't know what she was in, but she was a super famous actress. Just disappeared for like a few months all of a sudden one day after being vocal against the government, and then reappeared married to like one of like somebody high up in the government that she had basically been told, you're marrying him now and you apologize for everything you said, and by the way, you pay us like $125 million, pay the government that. So they just disappear you. If you're really bad, they disappear you forever. You never come back. But
so
if you're a little bit, if you're medium bad, they disappear you.
While.
They re-educate you in quotes, and then
so like
you come back
brainwash
and apologize.
So basically, Krampus is Chinese.
Yes,
that's what you're saying. Okay, got it.
So what would they call Krampus in China?
Krampus? I don't know. That was not a Chinese.
But anyway, now that so the Chinese Krampus is a different episode we'll do. But for now, we're going to focus on the European, is it Eastern European?
Central
European?
I think.
But wait, I will
Central
tell you.
to Easternish, Europeanish.
Sorry, I will tell you, after all this dies down in Hong Kong, expect to see a lot of people disappear after it's
And
done.
you'll know how
it's not
bad
like
they
big in
were.
the news anymore.
You'll know how bad they were by how long they were disappeared for, right?
Like the Chinese government, I can just see them just waiting for it to die down, not be in the news anymore, and then lots of people gone.
Cool story, bro. So,
see, what you're feeling right now is basically what we feel a lot when you talk.
I drew an analogy, guys.
no, it's fine. I just sometimes say that. Like, my wife gets so mad at me because she hates it when I say, because I'll use it with her whenever, like, she isn't responding to me right away. Because don't you hate it when you're like, hey, babe, hey, can I have this? Hey, and they don't ever respond. So eventually I'll just say, cool story, bro. And then she'll be like, oh, you son of a bitch. Works every time. So anyway, fun facts. Did you know that in Central Europe, in Austria primarily, they will actually have their Krampus night?
Yeah.
And they will have people that will dress up as Krampus.
Do parades.
Yeah, and do parades. And turns out that they actually are trying to scare the kids. Many of the men who dress up will actually get drunk before, and they will actually whip children with birch sticks.
It's fun time had by all.
To the point where kids will come out of it the next day with welts on them because they were hit with birch sticks.
Kids every year, like we're here in the States, are like super excited about Christmas, going out buying gifts and everything. Like, oh, hang our stockings, Christmas, make cookies, leave it out for Santa with milk. And meanwhile, in Austria, they're like, Krampusnacht.
they hate that day.
No wonder Schwarzenegger left.
I want to be sick on December 5th. No, you're going to the parade. No.
So it's just they just hit random kids that aren't even theirs. Like they don't even know if that kid was a saint.
Yeah, it sounds
not.
like it's just like socially
like the best kid
it's
ever.
Just socially acceptable to go around and like hit kids with birch
Now,
sticks. Like I do think that they like the parents tell them if they were bad or good, but they legit if they were bad.
Yeah.
This actually sounds kind of like therapeutic. How many times have you felt as a parent like these kids just
every day.
That's why I'm not.
Somebody ought to hit you with a birch stick.
I purposely like have to leave birch sticks outside so I don't just grab a birch stick every time I feel angry.
Now, I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was a time when they actually banned the whole...
Yeah, so that was like in the
early 1930s. Yeah.
There was like a 4-year period where they say the Social Democrats were the ones who came up with Krampus, and so therefore the fascists banned it and said you can't talk about Krampus or use Krampus. It's like an evil thing. And then there was another time that it wasn't actually banned, like in the 1950s. But I think it was like the Catholic Church or someone said, you cannot talk about Krampus or hand out informational pamphlets on Krampus. Or maybe they handed out an informational pamphlet telling them they can't talk about Krampus.
First rule about Krampus, you can't talk about Krampus.
Because it would scar your children for life, is what they said.
Yeah.
But apparently now it's become super commercialized and
it's all over the place. It's in video games, it's in music, it's in
obviously
movies and
TV
books,
shows,
comics, all that stuff. So
yeah. And then another fun fact, apparently sometimes Krampus is depicted as having one cloven foot and one human foot. But the kicker, no pun intended,
is the human foot.
Well done. Is no one knows why. Just probably some dude just like took his own personal liberties one day, or he forgot that he wasn't drawing a human. He's like, oh, screw it. And then people are like, oh, for some reason Krampus has one hoof and one human foot.
Your accents are always all over the place.
Maybe Krampus was losing popularity, and he was like, "We've got to do something to humanize him more."
Except for really like the painting that I saw that he had a human foot in, it really looked like he had like a wolf foot because it was like had claws on it. But yeah, finally, like some of the issues that were not just like plot driven issues, but were just differences that I never saw in any of the research that we did on Krampus that were in the movie. That were different. And some of the same things where it seemed like they followed the basic physical attributes that are explained in the movie. He has the chains in the movie, like they talk about. But they have the whole issue we talked about before with people stopping to believe in Christmas, and that's why he comes. But that does not seem to be the reason he comes in folklore and history. The reason he comes is just because kids are being bad.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a difference. They explained in the movie that when you're the person, like the grandma was gifted a bell that says Krampus on it when she was a little girl, and it was supposed to be a reminder that you need to believe in Christmas, and this is what happens when you stop believing in Christmas. The Christmas spirit is Krampus comes, right? So the boy also gets gifted a bell towards the end of the movie. That was another thing that I never saw mention of any bell in any of the research I did. There's another thing where Krampus, when he shows up, and this is what Trav talked about, brings basically this giant eternal snowstorm that is just like this giant blizzard that just keeps going and going while he's there. But I never saw mention of like Krampus bringing a snowstorm with him. And
Yeah,
any other
making
thing.
it entertaining.
Yeah, I'm not saying these are bad things. I'm just saying these are the things that probably were liberties taken by the creators of the movie. And then finally, and again, this is, yes, it makes the movie much more entertaining, but apparently Krampus in the movie had a lot of creature friends that he brought with
toys.
him. Yeah. So in the movie is depicted evil elves, which are these elf things that come in, bust through the window at one point in the movie. I think this is after you would have not seen it.
Yep.
And were trying to take some of the people with them. There was crazy gingerbread cookie men things that would just come to life and attack people. I mean, they try to shoot Todd Packard's character with a nail gun. And for
The gingerbread cookies
I don't know if you didn't see that part. No, yeah. And then scary toys came to life with like these like awful, just like teeth, like
These awful teeth.
and we're attacking them. And then there was like, I call them like tremor like creatures because there's these things that just like go through the snow instead of sand and like attack people from under the snow and then like pull them under. But all of these things I never saw mention of in any of the folklore. It just seems like Krampus kind of works alone in history and folklore, but in this movie he like has all these minions that work with him. And then ultimately at the very end, this is actually, I'm trying to like reach here, but I'm assuming because we talked about how Krampus will put really bad kids in his sack or his bag and take them back to hell. Well, there's like a big, huge like sinkhole that opens into the ground at the very end and looks kind of like a volcanic, like there's lava down there or something. And ultimately he throws the main character kid in the hole at the very end, which I'm assuming is just supposed to be representative of his sack to hell. And then he falls down, then the kid wakes up and he's apparently like fine in his bed. And he's like, oh, that must have been a really bad dream. But then they pan out the very end, and it turns out that Krampus had put them into a snow globe that he was putting on his shelf in hell.
Oh.
So I guess that was supposed to be the fact that I don't know if he has to be there for a year or forever.
That's his souvenir. Yeah. So before we end here, there's a lot of different, personages in the, I don't know, like Santa Claus, like Krampus, just in different, beliefs and folklore that I feel like we keep saying the word folklore. But anyway, one of the ones that, as I kept going along this, learning about Krampus and things like that, one thing kept popping up in my mind, and that is the legend of Belschnickel.
So did you know about Belschnickel before Krampus, or did you just barely learn about Belschnickel?
I think we all knew about Belschnickel, and you'll see why. So here we go.
Oh, judgment is nigh, for the Belschnickel ist I.
Yes, he is finally nigh.
I am nigh.
Every year, my
I am
grandfather.
nigh.
That's right. That's where I've heard Belschnickel before.
Okay at it. I am great. You know, they say some people were born to be bad. Well, I was born to be Belschnickel.
Oh, Belschnickel, I traveled from distant lands to discover how all the boys and the girls have been behaving this last year. Oh, too much strudel.
So he's kind of like Santa, except dirty and worse.
No, much better. No one fears Santa the way they fear Belschnickel.
That's my favorite part of Christmas, the authority.
And the fear.
Yes, exactly.
Come on, Dwight, you're making this up.
No.
This is a real thing. Belschnickel is a crotchety fur-clad gift giver related to other companions of St. Nicholas in the folklore of southwestern Germany.
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Seriously, you guys? Now you believe in Dwight's traditions when some Democrat looks it up on Wikipedia?
His partner, Schwate Pete, or Black Peter, a slave boy, often portrayed in colorful pantaloons and blackface.
No, Dwight. No.
Oh, come on. We don't blindly stick to every outmoded aspect of our traditions. Come on, get with the spirit of it, you guys.
So there you go. So that's like the thing that just kept coming to my mind is I was like, okay, Dwight, dressed up as somebody, and I can't remember, so I had to look it up. But Belschnickel. But the thing is, so I actually looked up pretty much the same thing that Oscar did on this episode of Office when he read about Belschnickel, or the Wikipedia post. And so the interesting thing about him is that he is the Santa Claus figure, but he's kind of merged in this. With Santa Claus, like. The idea is that, we've already talked about it. You get a present if you're good. You get coal if you're bad. But with Belschnickel, he carries around a bag full of, like, treats and candies and things like that. But if you are bad, he will whip you with a birch stick.
Why birch stick?
They're like switches. They're the kind of... They've got a lot of good...
A lot of spring in them. Yeah. They're very whippy.
So didn't want to spend any time really on that, but if you're interested, you can go and look that up on Wikipedia. Just Google it, Belschnickel. But I just really wanted to play that scene from The Office.
What season of The Office was that?
That was one of the later ones, because I believe Jim is actually there, and he's supposed to be going back to Philadelphia to his sports job or whatever, and then he leaves, and Dwight gets really upset, and he just doesn't feel like being Belschnickel anymore. And so, but anyway, so there you guys. You want to learn more about it? Go ahead and look it up. I think we pretty much said everything there is to say about Krampus. But watch the movie if you'd like. It is designated I guess the genre it is comedy horror. So. There's some funny stuff in it. There's some
description.
Horror. I say that loosely.
It's rated PG-13. Just fine. It's an accurate rating for it, because originally when I was going to watch it, for whatever reason, I just assumed it was going to be rated R.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. It was PG-13. So yeah, I'm not saying go show your small children, but if you have teenagers or whatever at home, it's not like it's that scary.
Being bad.
Yeah. I mean, unless they're really scared of gingerbread cookies already or something. But
it's I don't really like gingerbread, but that's me. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Catch us on our website, qcopodcast.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at qcopodcast. Obviously, you are listening to us on something, so keep listening to us there, or if for some reason that, goes kaput, you can find us somewhere else if we're going to be using German terms. Kaput. Or maybe that's French. I don't know. But thanks again, guys, for listening, and we will catch you next week. Make sure to be good, or the Krampus will come and whip you with a birch stick.
Yes.